A very good morning to you and welcome to our Rugby World Cup update brought to you live from London in England. The ABSA Red Bus, ABSA member of Barclays, is this morning parked outside of the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, and you get the most magnificent view at this time of the morning with all of the lights on. It's been 3 years since this park witnessed the feats of the Jamaican sprinters, the wonder of Chad le Clos beating Michael Phelps, and then Team GB at the Velodrome when it comes to track cycling. But having visited the park yesterday, it certainly is still a hive of activity, not quite Olympic activity, but there are still many visitors to the site and specifically to the orbit, which we'll be telling you about in a short while. Now, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Stadium has hosted 4 Rugby World Cup matches to date, including South Africa's rout over the USA when they beat them in the pool matches 64-0. Now, many Springbok supporters will be hoping that South Africa don't play again at the venue, because they only have one match left to host, and that is the bronze medal match. So to ensure that South Africa don't come and play at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, they have to get past New Zealand in the semi-finals come Saturday, and it's a task that the technical team at the Springbok camp are really getting their heads around. On that note, let's check in with our Springbok team correspondent, Simon Burke.
The Springbok bus was on the move again as the Boks relocated from Penny Hill Park to Guildford in Surrey. The Boks are now preparing for that semi-final encounter against New Zealand, and everyone's still talking about how the All Blacks destroyed the French over the weekend.
It was a great performance for them. To score 9 tries in a semi-final in a quarter-final is brilliant. I mean, they've just buried the French really right from the start. So it's up to us not to give them any turnover ball. It's up to us to stop their carriers on the gain line, and it's up to us to be at our best. I think there has been these intense games. The last 3 games we've had with them, they've all come down to one score and one moment.
You've got to give credit to New Zealand, because when they stuck the knife in, they didn't pull it out. They turned it, and they made the French feel the full wrath of their performance.
Of course, matches between the All Blacks and the Boks have been close-run affairs in the recent past, many times coming down to a game of inches with one play settling the match. The Boks have been found guilty of not being able to close out the matches. They'll be hoping they've learnt from past mistakes. I'm Simon Burke, bringing you the latest from the Springbok camp.
Well, the Springboks aren't the only South Africans that are making the news. We also have our referee Craig Hubert that's making the news. We'll be bringing you up to speed with that story after the break, as well as a feature on the home of Arsenal Football Club, the Emirates. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back as we broadcast live from London. The ABSA Red Bus, ABSA member of Barclays, is parked at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. There you can see, just on the right of your screen, it's coming right to the centre. Now that's the orbit, and there you see the actual stadium, which will in a couple of years' time be home to West Ham United as well as UK Athletics. Now, I mentioned before the break that we're going to be bringing you up to speed with another South African that's making the news, and that's referee Craig Hubert. Bear. World Rugby released a statement yesterday saying that Craig Bear was incorrect in the decision to award Australia the penalty, which basically saw them into the semi-finals. Following a review by the selection committee, World Rugby confirmed yesterday that ref Craig Bear should not have awarded a penalty to Australia, but in fact a scrum in the 78th minute of their quarter-final clash against Scotland. The game's global body went further to clarify that under the protocols, the referee could not refer to the television match official and therefore had to rely on what he saw in real time. In further reaction to the win, which Australian media dubbed the Great Escape, Wallabies coach Michael Cheika said he had to take a lot of responsibility for the team not fulfilling their potential on Sunday. He said, I don't feel that I, as the coach, performed very well in preparing the team for the quarterfinal. I'll make sure that doesn't happen this week. They face Argentina in the semi-finals. And then the All Blacks and Springbok coaches may be rivals on the park and between the poles, but Steve Hansen and Hanneke Meyer enjoy each other's company and they make a point of dining together before sending their troops into battle. But this week that won't be possible. Hansen said getting around London is a nightmare, so we'll probably miss out on the meal, but nothing else will change. The Boxers face the All Blacks for a place in the final come Saturday. Kickoff is at 5 o'clock South African time. All right, so the ABSA Red Bus is parked at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, and as I said, we visited the venue yesterday, and we visited to come to what is quickly becoming a tourist attraction, and that is the Orbit. It is not only a structure to marvel at, but also the creation is something to really take in, because it's a sculpture rising 114.5 meters off of the ground that you not only get to see, but you also get to experience.
There's 2,000 tons of steel, 35,000 bolts to keep this structure in place. Steel comes from all over the world. ArcelorMittal produced steel in over 60 countries, and it was actually put together in Bolton, which is in the north of England here. It was put together by 100 people, brought to the Olympic Park and constructed by 4 men and 1 crane. The canopy is part of the artist Sir Anish Kapoor's journey from darkness to light. Now it's 85 tons and it's suspended from the ArcelorMittal orbit. It's intended to rust, so if you look at it closely, it's made of Corten steel, which brings about a real character to the piece. And when you come to the ArcelorMittal orbit, you start underneath the canopy, and the journey then in the lift to the top is a journey from darkness to light. So when you get to the top and the lift doors open, the mirrors on the upper floor really bring light into the upper canopy. So you go on a journey, an artistic journey. It's open for all. We have over 130,000 visitors here, but we also welcome corporate visitors. You can book it, you can get married here, you can abseil off the top, you can walk down, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can do anything in it, as long as the price is right.
Oh, it is the most wonderful experience, and you actually go up in the lift and then you stand 80 meters from the ground and you get the most magnificent view over the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. And I must say, outside of the ABSA Red Bus, I haven't got a very bad view myself. It looks absolutely amazing. There you can actually see the orbit is right behind me, and then the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Stadium there to the left-hand side. It's absolutely brilliant. That stadium is actually going to be home to West Ham United Football Club in just 2 years' time. Speaking about football clubs, according to Twitter, the most followed English Premier League team in the world, in the USA, Canada and in Africa, is Arsenal. So obviously, being here in London, we had to go and visit Arsenal Football Club. We went on their stadium tour, which was extremely interesting, not only because we got to take a look at the pitch ahead of the Champions League group stage match against Bayern Munich, which they'll be playing later on tonight, but also because we got to get a bit of behind the scenes understanding of the history as well as some of the traditions at the club.
This club was formed in 1886 in a weapons factory, and the 15 men met. They decided they wanted to have some recreational pursuits after working in a dank, dusty, dangerous factory, and they set up a football club. And because they were in a weapons factory, making in those days cannons, The cannon was one of the first icons that came as part of the crest, and of course a nickname for a squaddie who operates a cannon is a gunner. And so now most of our fans will refer to themselves as Gunners, Arsenal fans, Gunners, or even Gooners, which is a sort of a different version of the word Gunners. So it's, as with many things around Arsenal, it's laden with tradition, heritage, and nice stories. As with all things, it has to evolve. This is the most recent iteration of that. We've had this crest from about 2002, and that also evolved at a time when the club was really looking to the future. We were 4 years away from moving into the Emirates Stadium. Everything was about youth development, about progressing through the Football League, and it felt obvious to flip the cannon from having read right to left to reading left to right, and naturally we all read left to right, and that's the sort of international understanding for progress, moving forward left to right.
Yeah, so progress at the club and some great development structures, and also they're doing wonderful things for women's football. Also on our Arsenal Stadium tour, not only do you get to go and sit inside the players' change room and find out more about the history of the club and the traditions, but you also get to have an understanding of some pre-match traditions.
Arsenal is all about being together. We want our players to bond together both on and off the pitch. It creates better team harmony naturally. And it's again another Arsenal tradition. Not all football clubs do this, but the night before a match, a home match, the players will retreat to a hotel, almost like a camp. In that hotel they'll live together, eat together, and at that hotel that's where Arsene will give the final instructions for the match. So by the time they arrive here and they walk through this entrance, they absolutely know their individual roles and the team roles. And often many people say to us when they see Arsene up in the director's box or wandering around, say, why isn't Arsene with the team? What's going on? Isn't he giving them their final instructions? And the answer is all those instructions have been dealt with at the hotel. It's now the players who will cross that white line and the players will perform. So the time capsule was put in there when the stadium was being built. As you can imagine, around a football club there's so much history and heritage. We only have to look to our left here and we have a display of our 12 FA Cups. We have a museum, chock-a-block full of historical artefacts which everyone can go to when they come on the stadium tour. But some really special items were put in there when the stadium was constructed. I believe a pair of Thierry Henry's socks are in there. Of course, he scored many goals in those socks. I think there's even a lock of Charlie George's hair. And Charlie George, of course, our big double-winning champion of 1971, an icon of Arsenal Football Club, and who actually performs the job of a stadium tour guide. You can come on and be shown around this great stadium by the great Charlie George. So yes, there's stories and history and heritage at every turn.
Absolutely brilliant. Let's bring you something a little bit different before we have to say goodbye. As we were trawling through social media yesterday, we came across proper Trevor Nyakane's Big Arena. Take a look at this. He was doing a reenactment of Dan Biggar's, his little process that he goes through before he's got to take a penalty kick or a conversion. Take a look at this. This is prop Trevor Nyakane. Trevor, you most certainly have the moves. Can you please bring some of that luck if you are named in the Springbok team against New Zealand? Maybe bring some nice moves. We're going to need them against the All Blacks. That's how we come to the end of this Rugby World Cup update. Tune in tomorrow, same time, 7:15 through to 7:30, as we bring you another live broadcast, as well as the sights and sounds of London from our ABSA Red Bus. Until then, have a great Tuesday ahead. Goodbye.